In the late 1930s, a haunting melody began to drift through the tea shops of Rangoon, under the rice paddies of the Irrawaddy Delta. It was a song called Nagani, the Red Dragon. The lyrics didn't just speak of sorrow, they painted a dream of golden age where the poor were no longer crushed by debt, where the Burmese people were the master of their own fate, where the ruby mines and oil wells served the people, not the British Empire. This song was the anthem of Nagani Book Club, founded in a bustling Scar market. This small publishing house sold radical books for the price of a few eggs. It became the incubator for a revolution. Among the young intellectuals gathering, there was a man named Thakin, though, unlike many of his peers who were students, so knew the smell of oil and sweat. He worked as the laboratory assistant at the Burma Oil Company in Syria. He saw firsthand how the colonial machine extracted wealth from the soil and vitality from the workers. He didn't just read Marx, he lived the class struggle. Today, we're going to walk the tragic and bloody path of the Communist Party of Burma. We will look through the eyes of its most radical founder, Thakin Soul. We will explore how they tried to force the teaching of Buddha with the logic of Lenin, why they turned their guns against each other in the deep jungle, and Myanmar after Burmese Communist Party. To understand why communism took root in a deeply religious country like Burma, we have to look at the alchemy of their ideology. The early Burmese leftists faced a challenge. How do you explain dialectical materialism to a peasant who believes in karma? Thakin Soul and his mentor, Thakin Kodamin, didn't just translate, they transformed. They coined the term Lokanabin, secular Nirvana. They argued that capitalism was the institutional manifestation of lobha, greed, and dukkha, suffering. In 1938, Soul wrote Socialism. In it, he proposed a radical idea. The revolution was a collective spiritual act. By overthrowing the British and the capitalists, the people could remove the material causes of suffering and return to a primitive communist golden age. For Soul's theory, Marx wasn't replacing the Buddha, he was completing the work. But philosophy was quickly overtaken by war. In 1939, Aung San and others founded the CPB. But when World War II exploded, a deadly split emerged. The young nationalist Aung San, desperate for independence, looked to the Imperial Japan for weapons. He believed, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But Thakin Soul saw it differently. From the damp darkness of the Insein prison in 1941, he co-authored the famous Insein Manifesto. His analysis was crystal clear. Fascism was a global monster, far worse than the British colonialism. While Aung San marched in with the Japanese army, Thakin Soul went underground. He slipped into the swamps of the Irrawaddy Delta, organizing farmers into resistance cells. He became the political brain of the resistance, while Aung San eventually realized his mistake and turned his military sword back against the Japanese. This moment defined Soul. He was uncompromising, still radically sharp, and willing to stand alone. The tragedy of the Burmese left is that they won the war but lost the peace. After 1945, the British returned the mainstream CPB. Led by Thakin and Tan, the White Flags adopted the broaderist line, seeking to work within the legal framework towards independence. Thakin was furious. He accused his old comrades of being revisionist and opportunist. In February 1946, in a dramatic rupture and split of the party, he formed the Communist Party, known as the Red Flag CPB. His stance was absolute: no negotiation, only armed revolution. While the country celebrated independence in 1948, the communists were already in the jungle. But the real horror begins in the 1960s. The White Flag CPB, now isolated in the Bago-Yuma Mountains, fell under the spell of Peking returnees. They launched the 1964 line and a purge. It was a cannibalization. Chen Guoxiao, a founding intellectual of the party, was executed. Yaba Hate was killed by a squad that included his own son. The ultimate breaking point wasn't military, but spiritual. The radicalized CPB began destroying pagodas and insulting monks, calling them parasites. The singer responded with the ultimate religious weapon, Patan Nikujana Karma, overturning the alms bowl. The acts communicated the communists in a devout Buddhist society. This was a social death sentence, cut off from the people and consuming itself from within. The CPB's central base collapsed in 1968 with the assassination of Chairman Thakin. Thakin's Red Flags fought on the Delta until his capture in 1970. But the remnants of the main CPB fled to the Chinese border. Here, they walked into a historical trap. The CPB preached the class struggle, arguing that our Burman peasant and a war farmer had the same enemy. But in reality, they were dependent on the ethnic warlords for survival. The Burman's communist leadership became guests in the lands of Wa, Kokang, and Kachin to feed the war machine. The ideology of serving the people was replaced by the economics of survival. They took control of the border gates, taxing the black market trade. Worse, they became entangled in the golden triangle's opium economy. The paradox was brutal. The party fighting for liberation was now finding itself through a very mechanism of exploitation they vowed to destroy. In 1989, the dam broke. The ethnic rank-and-file in the Wa and Kokang regions mutinied. They stormed the headquarters, not chanting anti-communist slogans, but anti-Burman ones. The CPB didn't fall to the government. It fell to the very ethnic contradictions it failed to solve. The Red Dragon was torn apart, bursting the powerful ethnic armies we see today, like the United Wa State Army. Thakin died in May 1989, just weeks after the CPB collapsed. His death marked the end of an era. What followed was not peace. The fall of the left created a massive political vacuum, and the two forces rushed in to fill it: military state building and crony capitalism. For the next 30 years, the military junta consolidated power not through ideology, but through business. They signed ceasefires with the breakaway ethnic armies, offering them a simple deal: trigger guns for profit. This era gave birth to ceasefire capitalism. Laws like VFE law weakened fallow and virgin lands management law were enacted. It took the military coup of 2021 to finally shatter the illusion. And in the ashes of the coup, a new generation has to pick up the pieces, but this time, they might need to learn from the history.